Good morning.
Good morning.
We are in the middle of a series called Ordinary, where we are taking stories of the ordinary, sometimes unnamed people in the Bible and telling their stories. We're focusing on what their role is in our grander story, in the grander story of the Bible, because everybody has a role to play in this gospel, in this story of Christ, in this story of this world. We all have our part to play, and it's all important. And we want you to believe that. And we want you to know that. Because sometimes this world will make you feel like I'm pointless, I'm useless, I'm nothing, right? I don't have to ask for a hand to raise if you've ever felt like that. I know you felt like that. I feel like that more often than not. But God says every role is important. So today we're going to tell one of my favorite stories. And I love stories. I love stories. I love reading them. I love watching them on TV. I love watching them on movies. I have read The Lord of the Rings at least 12 times in my life. I have a book series called the Green Rider series. And whenever a new the new book comes out, I feel like I need to read the first book and the rest of them just to catch up, so I know where it is in the story, where it's going to fit. I don't know if anybody else does that. I'm pretty sure they do, but it takes a lot of time. And what I love about reading these stories and rereading these stories is you focus in on other characters sometimes. Like I've watched the NCIS. I'm a big fan of NCIS. I'm the biggest fan of NCIS I know. And I've watched every season up multiple times. And each time, sometimes I focus in on another character. And I see, okay, this season I'm going to watch McGee and watch him grow and become somebody else. I'm going to pay attention to that. Or I'm going to pay attention to Abby and see how she changes and how things are going. And it makes reading the stories fun. And I'm going this way because the story we're going to read is out of John chapter 6. So open up your Bibles to John chapter 6. And it's one of the few miracle accounts that's actually in all four Gospels. And all four Gospels tell a different aspect or a different story or a different way of setting it up. And I like John chapter 6 because it introduces a character that's not in the other Gospels. And that's the character we're going to focus on. The title of this sermon is The Boy Who Lost His Lunch and Fed 5,000. Yes, double entendres are intended in that. The boy who lost his lunch and fed 5,000. So let's read John chapter 6. After these things, Jesus went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. A large crowd followed him because they saw the signs which he was performing on those who were sick. When Jesus went up on the mountain, there he sat down with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was near. Therefore Jesus, lifting up his eyes and seeing that a large crowd was coming to him, said to Philip, "Where are we to buy bread so that these may eat?" This he was saying to test them, for he himself knew what he was intending to do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, for everyone to receive a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what are these for so many people?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." I'm going to stop right there. We're going to get to the end of the story, but I want to stop right there because the setup of the story is so important. Imagine it. Jesus decides, I'm going to go over here. away from, we're going to travel to the other side of the river, the sea. We're going to sit up and we're going to have camp there. It is the Passover feast, the biggest feast in the Jewish religion. It celebrates the escape, the freedom from Egypt. So it's an important day. It's a big deal. And that's a time that you spend with you and your family, and you have a feast, and there's bread, and there's matzah, and which is the same thing. And then there's drink, there's a big to-do, the Passover feast. And here all of these people are out here following Jesus. It's like going to the Bible tells us there were 5,000 men there. Add the women to that, and then the kids, and it's kind of like a balloon festival or a festival outdoors. You ever go to outdoor festivals? Anybody go out to an outdoor festival where there's a lot of people? Yeah. I mean, it seems like there are millions of people out there, and it's crowded, and how do you move around? Where do people sit down, or whatever? And what do you do with that? And Jesus says, where are we going to find, how are we going to feed all of these people? Send them home. No. You feed them is what Jesus tells them to. He says, where are we going to buy bread so that all of these people may eat? And I got to think about this for a minute. Think about this. Out of all of these people, and everybody's worrying about it, there's this kid that has a lunch. His mama packed for him. A couple fish, a couple loaves of bread. That's it. And he's left with the decision, and he hears, and kids are aware of more things. He's aware of what's going on. He's aware that all of these people. He's aware that there are people who are hungry, people who are thirsty, people who are tired, and he's aware of that Jesus is hungry, and he's probably sitting there listening to this conversation, and he sees the disciples. The disciples probably go into panic mode right about now. Where do we find all the bread? Jesus wants us to feed all of these people. What are we going to do? We're going home. No, we can't go home because Jesus says to do this. What do we do? What do we do? And I believe this happened. I can't prove it. It's not in the Bible. But I think this little kid walked up to one of the disciples, the first disciple he could find, the most approachable, because Peter's probably a scary guy. James and John, they're sons of thunder. Matthew's a tax collector. I'm not going to talk to him. But he goes up to Andrew, he probably tugs on his robe and says, "Sir, if this will help, I have my lunch." Because I don't think the disciples went and said, "There's food! Let's get that food!" That doesn't sound like something Jesus would do or would approve of. But I believe that this kid came up, tugged on his shoulders, tugged on his robe, and answered, "Sir, I have food. If Jesus needs it, I'll give it to him." Now, I think about this, and to be fair, I preached this sermon before. I talked about this story before, 20 years ago, and it's still true today. I want to look at what are the things that this kid could have done. What this little boy could have done. First of all, this little boy could have just hid his food and told no one he had it, right? Would anybody blame him for doing that? There are probably other kids, other people were thinking, "Oh, well, my wife did serve, I'm not going to tell anybody I have this. I'm going to hide it, save it for later." And then nobody would have eaten anything because he was too scared to eat things because everybody else was hungry. I am not going to do that. He could have hid it and told no one. food would have spoiled, gone bad, fish doesn't last that long, and the bread got stale, and pretty soon it was useless. The second thing he could have done, he could have just opened it up and eaten it himself, right? Would you have blamed him? You have a lunch, nobody else has a lunch. It's their problem, not mine. I've got food. I got a Big Mac. You're done. I got a fillet of fish. I'm going to eat this myself. He would have been satisfied. He would have been healthy. He would have been good. His mama made it for him, right? Or he made it for himself. I don't know that part. But he did it himself. It's his food. He can eat it. He could have done that. He didn't do that. He could have. Maybe he was a nice kid. Maybe he was one of those polite kids, right? Maybe he was one of those kids that says, I have food. Somebody else needs it. I'm going to share it with as many people as I possibly can. How far do you think 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread will go? That's at least 3 fish sandwiches, maybe. And somebody gets a, air sandwich. Air sandwiches aren't that good. Maybe we put a little grass on it, use its greens, vegetables in there. So find something. He could have shared it with as many people he could have. It wouldn't have gone very far. Even if you got a little bit of it, just handed a little bit. Somebody got like a handful of fish. That's not going to feed 5,000 people. That's not going to feed 6 people. Lucky if you spread it out like my mama used to do, you could probably feed 10 people out of it. 5 loaves and 2 fish, maybe more, but 10's stretching it. He could have shared it with as many people as he could. He didn't do that. He could have given Jesus some of it, right? Maybe just give Jesus, I'll share my lunch with Jesus. That's good. He's the rabbi. He's tired. He's hungry. I'm going to give Jesus some of it. And then he can eat and I can eat and we'll be happy. No, he didn't do any of that. He took everything he had, his whole lunch, and he gave it to Jesus. All of it. Why? Well, because Jesus was hungry. All these other people were hungry, but he couldn't feed all these other people, but he can feed Jesus. What does that have to do with anything? Well, we're faced with the same questions. We're faced with the same struggles. Every one of us has been given a skill, a talent, blessings, something. You have something in your life that's valuable. You have something. You have abilities I don't have. You have skills I don't have. I have skills you don't have. I have things and stuff and resources, talents, skills, and resources. We have all got talents, skills, and resources. And we have the choice every day to do something with that. I don't know what it is in your life. I don't know what it is out there. I don't know what you've got. But you've got things. Be it money, time, and talents. And we have choices to do these things, do with it. We have the same choices that this little kid did. We can hide it and tell nobody we can do things like that. We can tell nobody that that's anything in us. We can tell we have skills and resources that we don't want anybody to know about because, we don't think they're any good. We don't think there's anything we can do with that. We don't think it's useful or important. I have a little phrase about work, a job that I got. It's like the more they know that you know, the more they expect you to do, right? Let me say that again so you can hear it, because it's the more they know that you know, the more they expect you to do. They want to use your ability, and you know that if you could tell, I love to keep people guessing and surprise people at the end later. Oh yeah, I can do that. You can? I didn't know that. Oh, well, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to do it up until now. You know what I'm saying? So we can have these skills, talents, and resources and the things, and if we tell nobody, what happens to them? No one benefits from it if we hide it. Not even you. You don't benefit of it if you hide it. We look at the story, the parable of the talents, the master who went away and gave these guys talents. 10 talents to one guy, 2 talents to another guy, 5 talents to another guy. He divvied them up. And the guy with only 2 talents did what? He went and he buried it. Says, the master's going to be wanting that. He gave that to me. I'm going to keep it. He hid it and did nothing with it. Master comes home. The guy with 10 talents says, I made 10 talents, I invested it, here's 10 more. The guy who did 5, he says, I did 5 talents, I've invested them, here's 5 more. So I have 20, he's got, and then the guy with 2 talents says, I hid yours. Master says, I'm going to take everything you have. You have nothing. And sends the guy to jail. That's the Kelley version of that. So check it up. It's in the Word of God. That's the abridged version. So God says, even those who have, if they don't use it, it gets taken away from them. There are so many things that I used to want to do, but I stopped doing. And I said, I don't want people to know I do that. I don't think I can do them anymore. It's the whole concept of, it's like riding a bike. You never forget how to ride a bike, is what they say. They are wrong. Last time I got on a bicycle, it was not a pretty sight. I used to ride a bike all the time when I was a kid. I used to go places, and I rode the entire length of Andrews Air Force Base on a bike because there was nothing else to do. I got on a bike 5 years ago. It was horrible. I can't do it anymore. I could probably do it again if I got back on it, but I hid that talent and I don't use it anymore, and if you don't use it, you lose it. So hiding it is not a good option. Using it for ourselves. We could use our talents for ourselves. You ever have something that says, oh, that's just for me, that's my thing, that just edifies me. I do that for myself. That's not bad, because you get edified, you get pleasure from it, you get joy from it. But nobody else does. And eventually your desire to do it kind of, fades away, or you don't schedule time to do it. It's not important to do anymore. I love photography. I love taking pictures. But for a long time, that was just for me. I would do it for myself and not tell people what I do. Not show my photographs to anybody, because that's for me. That's my thing. And let me tell you, it stopped being enjoyable in some cases. Or I ended up with all of these pictures. And what changed my way of using my photos was actually one of those redesign shows, those home makeover shows, where somebody had all of these pictures and the thing, he goes, do you want to be a person who takes pictures, or do you want to be a photographer? What? Great. If nobody saw the good things that I did, then what's the point of doing it? If I didn't share it with anybody else, what's the point? If I wrote poems and never shared them with people and showed them to people, what's the point? Yes, they edify me, that's just for me. Well, as you can tell, I've gotten over my photography thing. All the screens, all the images that we've seen behind the videos, the songs, I'm not bragging, but they're mine. Because I think other people will enjoy it. I now know other people will enjoy it. And other people like them. Or I'm like, they like them, really? That's what we have our open mics for. So you share your talents with other people. You share your abilities with other people. Yes, use it for yourselves. You get pleasure from it, but it only lasts a little while. A God-given gift is multiplied when it is shared. We talk about gifts. We talk about giving something to somebody, and it's theirs forever. But God says, when I give you a gift and you use it, it becomes greater. A God-given gift is multiplied when it is shared. The second thing we do is okay, let's share our gifts. We can share it with as many people as we can in our own power, right? Imagine if we tried to do a food ministry with just the abilities and skills that we have. We could collect and collect and collect and give it away and give it away and give it away. But you know what's going to happen with that? We're going to get tired of doing it. We're not going to see any fruit. We're going to see an end of resources, a replenishment of resources. And we're not going to have enough. We're not going to have the want to. We're not going to have the blessings for it. We're not going to have the desire to do it. We're going to get tired, and there's nothing to keep us motivated. So we can help as many as we can if we're trying to do it in our own power and our own strength. You can give everything you have to the world, and the world will applaud you for it. But when it runs out, the best that you can hope for is that you're simply forgotten. And nobody notices you anymore. The worst that you can hope for, the worst thing that can happen is they point out the fact that you failed. And they ridicule you for the rest of your life. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen if we try to do these things with our own strength and our own ability, try to feed as many people as we can without any help from the Almighty. That leads to depression, diminishing of resources. You can't do enough. Oh yeah, and we pastors, we go through that all the time. Of I don't have enough in me. Because a lot of times we kind of forget to give these things over to Christ. We kind of forget to give these things over to the Almighty, who is the one saying, it's not yours anyway, it's mine. You're just a steward of it. You're just looking over it. But we can do the last thing. The one thing we should have done in the beginning, that's one thing this little boy did, is we need to give it all over to Jesus, to Christ. And this is what happened in that story. Verse 10. Jesus said, have the people sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down in numbers of 5,000. Jesus then took the loaves, and having given thanks, he distributed to those who were seated, likewise also with the fish, as much as they wanted. When they were filled, he said to his disciples, gather up the leftover fragments so that nothing will be lost. Read that again. Hear that. When they were filled, he said to the disciples, gather up the leftover fragments so that nothing will be lost. So they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves, which were left over by those who had eaten. 5 loaves filled 12 baskets. And that's after they had been filled. This word filled, let me give you a visual description. Thanksgiving dinner. Sitting at the table for 2 hours. Eating. You have to get to the point of pushing yourself away from the table, loosening your belt. Unless if you weren't smart enough to wear the stretchy pants. We're talking about so filled, it's time to go watch the game and take a nap. That's the word that they were talking about. They were filled to overflowing, satisfied with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Jesus fed 5,000 men and the women and the children and this little boy who lost his lunch and fed a multitude of people. And there were leftovers. We give our stuff, our abilities, our talents, our skills, our knowledge, everything, our money, our finances. We teach tithing. The Bible teaches, the school teaches, the church teaches tithing, not so much to just pay our bills, but to teach you that who's in charge of your finances. They'll teach you to put God in charge of your finances. You hand all your finances over to Christ and say, God, you take care of this. Help me with this. And he says, I will bless you immensely. I'm not saying that there's, take that for what it is and not expand on it. Just God will bless you immensely if we let him control what's going on. He won't just bless you. He's going to bless other people through what you've done. You give your skills, your talents, your joys, your job over to Christ and say, God, thank you for this job. It's yours. Thank you for it. He will bless you. He will not just, I don't want to say he'll bless you. He will bless the world through what you do. I think of Keith Green. Anybody know who Keith Green is? He's a great musician back in the day. One of the greatest Christian musicians. And when he got saved, he tried other religions, tried to find what he was looking for. He couldn't find what he was looking for in life and anything else until he found Jesus. And there's a chapter in his book, No Compromise, where he struggled with this whole fame and music thing. What is he going to do? And he literally set down his piano and he said, God, I'm going to walk away from this. I'm going to get away from it. If you want me to, this is all for you, not for me. And if this is going to give me trouble, I'm going to walk away and do something else. And he gave his talent over, laid it down. God gave it back to him. God says, I want you to do this. Do it for me. And he has become the biggest influence in Christian music. He has become one of the greatest, wrote some of the greatest songs that I've ever enjoyed. You ask any Christian musician out there about Keith Green, and they'll tell you how much influence and impact he had on his life, on their lives. And he only was ministered for about 7 years before he died in a plane crash. But the world is blessed through what he did. The world has been blessed through him. The world will be blessed through you because of what you've done. Because you gave all of your stuff, you gave all of your life, you gave everything over to Christ and let him do the work for you. Does that make any sense? We hold on to it ourselves. We're not going to get very far. We don't give Jesus all of it. He's going to take what you give him. And he's going to do some. You can give Jesus some of it, and he will take it and he will do something with it. But you imagine what he can do with all of it, with all of your life. He doesn't want part of your life. He doesn't want part of what you've got. He wants it all because he can do more with it than we can. So I love this story. Just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. It's not a lot. I don't have a lot. I don't know what you've got. But I'm pretty sure it's not. You don't think it's a lot. But God says, you give it to me, and I can bless the world with it. So I don't know what you have, or what you want, or where you are in life. But I encourage you, stop struggling so hard. give it over to Christ. He'll take it, and he'll work miracles. Let's pray. Father God, we love you. I thank you for the story of this young kid. God, I thank you for the story that you can do miracles and you can do a lot with the little that we have. God, I pray for everyone in this room or everyone who's listening to this, God, that they'll just hand it over to you. Be it their talent, be it something they're struggling with, be it their lives. And Father God, I pray that you will bless the world and change their lives. In Jesus' name, amen.